morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay over the road that I'm on. It's a little bit smoother this morning on the road I have to go to work. So I wanted to share some of the stuff I was reading last night, since it was kind of late by the time I got home, so I wasn't able to read it live, but I think I've read part of it before, and I also wanted to mention something else that I was talking to Jackie about. I'm not sure who heard me tell this dream or vision I had a long time ago, but if you've heard it, I apologize for repeating this story, but it made me think of something. So when I was about to pick up my kids a long time ago in Salem, New Hampshire, at my ex's house, I was just pulling up to her apartment complex, and it was really a trashy, like, not a nice apartment complex, and pulling up to it, and there's like 5 buildings, and there's like 6 apartments in each one, and I'm pulling up, and Jackie's next to me, and I'm just like staring up, like kind of into the sky, like because of the angle of the hill, and as I'm staring up at the sky, I just see a vision of the Lord, and he's in the forest, and behind him is the backdrop of the forest, just like if you could see the trees like that, just like a regular forest, but it had like some pretty huge like tree trunks, except like, so it kind of looked like almost like the redwoods or something, and the Lord had on a gigantic like fully covering his body, like white garment, kind of like what they were casting lots for when he was crucified, and like kind of like a wrap that went past that, whatever they're called, and then his hand was holding the bottom hem of his garment, and he pulled it up past his knee so he could run, and I'm pretty sure he had sandals on too, and he was running like pretty fast, like this vision was like a millisecond of speed, like so fast. And whatever happened when I don't know specifically why I saw it, but whatever happened, it made me cry like immediately when I saw it. So it's all I can tell you, is that it was powerful to see that, and it kind of gave me this like warm feeling in my spirit that said everything's gonna be okay. Turned out, everything I was worrying about those 5 or 6 years ago from now, really didn't matter. I was worried about all these things that didn't matter, and now my daughter lives with her mom anyway, and full time. My son still lives with me, and everything's kind of like fine. I don't argue with my ex because my son talks to her. I don't have to talk to her anymore, and it's just like things are fine. Doesn't mean it will always be that way, into the future, but for now it's fine. And I kind of thought about the fact that when it says like that, my people will run and not grow weary, and I was thinking about like, that could be a million things, but when I was wondering, when God recreates the earth, heaven and earth, and we don't feel tired anymore because we're not in our old bodies, we're in our new bodies or whatever, and you can just run forever or fly or whatever it is. But wouldn't it be amazing if God just took like a year, 100 years, however long of the 1,000-year reign that we have, what if he took that time and just ran with us around his creation as like a flock of birds or a school of fish would or something, and he's the leader, and we're just running around with him all over the earth. And you can run on water, you can swim under the water and breathe, you can climb to the topest mountain, and just keep running, and you're never tired, and you just get to see all the things that us poor people never got to see. Because I've seen part of the country, I've seen a little bit of Canada and stuff, but I never got to see like Ireland like I wanted to. I never got to see like Europe. I never got to go to South America really, nothing like that, because I just never had the money to. And I could have gone to these places a million times. I could have gone to these places like so many times. But I just wanted to spend my money on other things, like people that might have needed help. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at this. I'm just saying, like, I could have saved up my money and been the way that the world is, you know, saved every penny for myself and just not, you know, cared about everybody else that needed money or help or whatever, you know. And that goes for like a lot of things that I've done, that some of them wasn't just cash. It was like things that I bought for myself that I gave away. And I know many people have done that for me too. Like, they gave me stuff. Like, some of my friends from this channel have given me stuff that I needed and stuff, you know. So it goes both ways. But I just like wonder that about God. Like, is he gonna do something like that and take us for like a ride around like what he's made and shown us everything? And maybe we just will do a flyover and see it. But you know, you really, when you get to walk on something or run on something and see it for yourself, you get a better, you know, visual of what God's made. So I don't know, I'm just saying. And I was reading the Chronicles of Jeremiah last night, and I've read the story before, but the story starts with Moses when he was born, and the story when he was in front of the king. He was saved by, number one, it's this where I started. The sun was broiling hot for some reason, and I personally think that it's similar to what's going to happen soon in the future, where the sun is so hot for the people that are not believers that it'll burn your skin if you just touch it. So, like, not touch it, but like if it touches your skin, like if you get a regular sunburn now at the beach or whatever, it's like you can't even do that anymore. You can't even get a suntan because it's so hot. It'll like third degree burn you from just, if it just, the sunlight glances your neck, because it says that people will dig holes in the earth just to escape the sunlight, but for us it won't. So we're gonna be fine on the surface, and they're gonna have to dig holes in the ground and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things like that I've mentioned that are punishments for other people, but not for us. We won't be affected by those things. But nobody talks about that kind of stuff because they don't read the scriptures that tell you. They read this, they do prophecies and stuff like that, like, and translations of prophecies on Revelation only. There's a million other apocalypses like that you could read that tell you way more detailed information, and they don't want to accept those books. And there's a lot of other channels that are like that. They don't accept certain principles, so they don't know the fullness. They don't rule over the all, as it speaks of in the Nag Hammadi Codices and I think the Gospel of Thomas. Some people don't accept the Gospel of Thomas. It's the Lord's words, his words, like quoting him. Like, and I think that's really kind of like rude to do, you know, to be, you know, I'm not as mean about it as I like to be, but like, it's kind of rude to do, is to just like, what if you were in class at school and they were reading like Aristotle, right? And you're like, oh, excuse me, that paragraph we didn't find the manuscript for that. I will not let you read that in this class. Nope, not gonna do it. Like, that doesn't even make sense. You would never do that. But people speak swelling words against the Lord. You don't have the right to say what's his word or not. You don't have the right to say anything. You're allowed, like, the only reason that you have the ability to say that is because you have control of your tongue right now. You're not always going to have control of your tongue unless it's burning in hell. And I'm speaking to the people that are saying these blasphemous things against the Lord and his word and his righteous people, his righteous scribes that have written things. And even that, you know, is unbelievable. Oh, I accept Enoch 1, but not 2, 3, and 4. What? You don't even... Okay, why don't you do this? Before you say that, if you're going to say that, read them all out loud. And you tell me the parts that give you a feeling of, oh, that's not God. It's garbage, because I've always wanted to know what was in heaven. I've always wondered what the angels were really like and stuff like that. And Enoch 3 tells you, like, all about it, and it all makes sense. Where does your crowns come from? A certain angel makes your crowns. If you read the Testament of Solomon, those angels that are demons now and fallen angels, they once were angels in heaven. They had jobs, and those jobs were like a part of their being. So when they fell, it diminished that part of the whole hierarchy of heaven. So these powers and principalities and all these things, what if they were in charge of like ice or something? And then now that they fell, that part of the ice realm is now diminished, and they are in control of it. That makes sense to me. Like, and that's what it talks about in the Testament of Solomon, that certain high-ranking demons who are called up from the underworld, they tell you, I make babies go deaf when they're in the womb. And a lot of demons do stuff to babies when they're in the womb. It's their time to attack them because they, for some reason, maybe like their angel isn't up, like the angel only starts protecting them once they're born or something. It didn't really explain that, why they're allowed to attack babies when they're newborn, like before they're born, I mean. But a lot of the attacks happen at that time. Or just so many things you have to read. There's too many complicated intricacies to understand all the things that demons do to human beings, or why we have headaches, or why we have this. And like, that's what Praying Mantis even says in some of his rap music, is that demons will frequently bleed us to death. That's what it's like. It's like they're spiritually bleeding us to death. And then you go take Advil, or you take this, or you take whatever to make your headache go away, but really there's a demon that's causing these things to your body, because demons and angels at the beginning, certain angels were making your body. It says that certain angels were in charge of your nose, your right leg, your left leg, your right arm, your left arm. Every part of your body was made by a different angel. And that's why it says you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful because you are made in God's image, and fearfully because like the angels are making you and God's watching them make you. Oh, nope, that's wrong. Like, I'd be afraid if God was watching me make anything. If I was making a sandcastle, I'd be afraid of God watching me. Nope, you didn't do that right there. Anybody's like doesn't do a good job when somebody's watching you. You like, you could have done it 100 times, and then your boss is watching you, and you're like, oh man, and then you smash your finger with the hammer. It just happens. So anyways, in the story, the sun is scorching Pharaoh's daughter and all the people of the land. So all of the maidens and the concubines and everybody were down at the water. And at this time, all the babies were to be killed if they were a male child. It was a decree. Some of the children were kept safe by going out into the fields, and the earth would cover them. They'd grow to 3 years old, and the angels would make like a nest of the angels would make, and God would make the children's hair grow long, like fast. It would make a nest for their bodies to sit in, basically under the ground. They would grow to like 3 years old under the ground. They would be fed by 2 stones. One had milk coming out of it, and one had honey coming out of it. And they would grow to 3 and then walk back to their parents' house. Then once they were like 3, they would hide in the walls, and the Egyptian women would teach their children Hebrew and call to the children and trick them to come out, and then they'd murder them. So there was a lot going on at that time, just like there's a lot going on right now. And we are, probably in a spiritual Egypt right now. Sodom and Egypt. If you think about what's happening in America and Israel right now, it's very much like Sodom and Gomorrah. And how was that destroyed? It was destroyed by fire and brimstone. And Dimitri Duduman said that he saw in a vision that was given to him by Gabriel, he showed him all the cities. He took him up, saw all the cities in Las Vegas, Miami, a lot in California. All these major cities where sin happens are destroyed by fire coming up very soon. And as I mentioned, and somebody else mentioned too, that they have like a way, China has Scud missiles or whatever that they can put in container ships. So wouldn't that be a good way to just Scud missile all of the country at strategic points that they don't care about, but they have certain cities that they've already marked for death, and there's ones that they will probably want to save because they want to save, like, for instance, Boston would probably be one they'd want to save because it has the largest robotics department in the world, basically. Those little robot dogs and all the humanoid robots that are in Boston, I'm sure they want to save that intel and stuff like that. But certain ones are already gone, marked by God because of their sinful ways. Now, back to the story. Moses was then found by the princess. When he was 5, he was in the court wearing royal purple, it says, and he touched the king's crown. And then I think it was like 3 men. It was Balaam, a man named Job, which I don't obviously think was the other Job who lived like way before that, and then another guy. And I think it was Balaam who said, "Oh my goodness, king, this is the one that was prophesied to come." So immediately he said that, and he said, "Let's kill him," because they knew he was about to come. That's why they were killing all these babies anyway. So in that thing, he mentions to him, their people, Nimrod, and Abraham tricked Nimrod and told him Sarah was his sister. Then he went through all the line of the people that had done things to trick Pharaoh and trick their all the leaders of the. So you could see there's a definite difference between the line of Cain as the leaders and then the line of Adam. That's what it's talking about. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then Nimrod, Pharaoh, and they mentioned some other kings as well. And so Gabriel, same angel that was sent to Dmitri Duduman, Gabriel himself came down, transformed into a human in the crowd, and said, "Why don't you make him touch the coal or the onyx stone and see which one he touches to his mouth, and then we'll know if he just was being a child and didn't want to do it." Didn't know what he was doing. So then he takes the hot coal and puts it to his mouth, and that's why Moses was slow, heavy of speech, it says. So then let's fast forward. We know the story of Moses killed the man because he was 18 when this happened too, by the way. So he gets found out that he killed the overseer, and some other guys were chiding him and making him "Oh, you're gonna kill me like you killed him" and stuff. And he did it, in my opinion, in righteous anger because the other guy he raped his wife. The guy had to get a divorce from his wife because she was raped. It was so sad. And then it says that, I think it was right then, I forget the point, but Moses was he had to leave the land, and if you've seen the Ten Commandments, he's kicked out by Pharaoh. But in this Chronicles of Jeremiah, that's not how it happened. He was taken by Michael 40 days journey away from Egypt, and when he was taken away, he becomes a part of an army that was fighting against another army. 2 big, huge armies, right? And you find out that Balaam, the one that did so many evil things to God's people in the Bible, had 2 sons, Janus and Jambres. And they calls them other names sometimes too, but just so you know who I'm talking about, I'll say those names. And those 2 people, those 2 magicians, are in, let's just say it's a castle type building. So these men go away to fight this war. All the men of this castle go away to fight. And when they come back, Jannes and Jambres had built the walls up of this castle so that nobody could get in. And they built like a moat on one side, a pit of snakes on the other side, and different mechanisms so nobody could get into the castle, including the king himself. While they were trying to get back into the city where all these soldiers' families were living, the mothers and fathers and grandparents and kids, and the only people that left was the younger men. So they come back and they can't even go see their families. And they tried to besiege this city for a very long time. I think it was like 9 years or something. They're trying to get back into this city. And they're just like, I mean, how long would you try to get back to see your family? So during that time, the king died, and they made Moses the king at 27 years old, which is exactly the time that they said they besieged the city. So he was like 18, and from like him being 18 until being 27, imagine how many battles and different things they did to try to get into that city, never mind the battles before when they were fighting the other army. And it says specifically that they loved Moses because he had a gorgeous appearance and he was very tall, like one of the cedars. He was a big dude. So then the reason I'm bringing that up is because I remember I told you that Moses, in his old age, killed Og of Bashan. Yes, Og was a giant, but do you see that why Moses was a leader? He was a big dude, and he just was made by God to be someone that they would follow. And after they made him king, they gave him the king's wife as his wife, but he wouldn't sleep with her for like 40 years or something ridiculously long. And after they couldn't figure out how to besiege the city, Moses told the men, go out into the woods, find baby storks, train them like you would train up an eagle or a hawk or whatever, and then raise them to like 2 years old. So they waited 2 years for these storks to get bigger. They starved them for 2 days, and then they let them go as they were going up to the gates. They swooped down and ate all the snakes that were poisonous, and then they could get in that way. And they besieged the city, took it back, and Jannes and Jambres had to flee back to Egypt. And that's why they were there when Moses later came to take God's people out of Egypt. So not a lot of people know that story about Moses, but do you see how many other books you have to read to know the full story of the patriarchs, the prophets, the people that have done amazing things for God? Have you ever heard that? Some people might have heard me say it, but did you ever learn that at church? No, never. Why? Because they don't want you to know who you are. You belong to this. If you were saved by Jesus Christ, then He called you to be the replacement for the people that didn't want to believe in His kingship. This becomes your story. So if you don't like the story of your life and the hand you were dealt, who cares? You have an eternal story forever with a God and a king and all these people that were great people. And when your body isn't sick anymore, if you're sick right now, or if you are feeble right now, and you feel like I'm so depressed, I'm so down, and all this stuff, you don't have to be. It's just temporary. And there's a lot of things that people can do when they're in that state. You just have to get yourself out of that mental state that I can't do anything to help God right now. I'm so poor, and I'm so this, and I'm so that. And God said that woman that put 2 lepta into the thing is greater than all the men that were giving so much money to God. And someday soon, all the people that seem like nothing and insignificant in this world will be great. And it'll flip. And when it flips, all these things I'm telling you are going to be reality, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. And we're going to have to go through some hard times, and that's cool, because how does your greatness show its magnification if you're not tempted by the devil at the same time? These places that are reserved for us in heaven, they need to be earned. Jesus paid the price for our sins, and he made a way for us to earn those things. He will magnify all the things that you do in this life, so it seems like, you can't really do nothing. Like, everything that you do is like pointless, or like it seems like nothing. Jesus is gonna magnify those things as if like he did it. And it says, blessed is the man who sees himself as a fourth one in heaven. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and you forms the cross. Blessed is that man or woman. So, I hope that was helpful. God bless you guys. Thank you for your patience with me on doing a live show. It's just been very difficult to do one with my current schedule. But we'll do one this week soon. Maybe we'll do one tonight. I don't have a lot going on tonight. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the nice weather if it's nice where you're at. I'm in New Hampshire, so it's pretty decent out. It's supposed to get colder next week. So I hope you guys have warm clothes, and God bless you all. Take care.